The president says he wants to wean states off of FEMA, and he recently told reporters that he's not going to comment about the future of FEMA. But we know what he's doing with FEMA money. We already know. He's using FEMA money to fund Alligator Alcatraz here in Florida.
As a black person, to actively be someone that chooses not to vote is a major affront to all those that came before us that longed for the ability to have a say in this country.
This administration is DEI. Didn't earn it.
He was like, who were you before this? Before 2016, before the Red Hats, before all this extra, who were you? I bet you were a nobody with no hobbies, nothing interesting about them, just nothing.
All right, pull up a chair, everyone. Welcome. This is the Porch Light Theory, where we have unfiltered conversations, but sometimes it's necessary. Joining me right now is my co-host, Nick B., and I'm Tristan Hardy. Nick, what's going on, bro? How you been?
It's just another day in paradise, out here chilling, grilling. Not really grilling because it was raining, but that's life. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm just trying to survive in this world that we call life. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I do want to talk about that's happening right now, and folks are going to say, don't politicize this, but it's already been politicized. I'm sure you've heard what happened with the catastrophic flash floods that happened in Central Texas.
Prayers out to them for sure.
Yeah. It's a tragedy. So for those who are not up to speed on what has happened, there was this catastrophic flash flood that happened in Central Texas. That's like in the Austin, San Antonio area, somewhere in that area. And weather experts said that this flash flood hasn't been seen in years. And it got to the point where we're seeing higher levels of flooding and is washing out campgrounds, neighborhoods. Crews are sifting through debris, and crews are also looking for they're hoping to find survivors in this type of situation. It's really sad. More than 100 deaths, including 28 children, were involved in this. Again, experts haven't seen a flood like this in years. Governor Greg Abbott says we need prayer. Texas officials are questioning the validity of the National Weather Service. This is where I have a problem, because they're going to say, don't politicize this. Again, it's already been politicized. When Governor Greg Abbott says prayer does work, it absolutely does. But I'll tell you something else that does work. Proper legislation and proper funding to organizations and groups that help the public. So right now we're in the middle of hurricane season here in Florida. So I expect a lot of rain, occasionally some flooding sometimes. I live in a neighborhood where you can spit and sneeze and all of a sudden it's flooding. So it's nothing new to me right now. But weather experts have warned the public about how these DOGE cuts that happened when the Trump administration first started was going to impact us in the future. Dare I say, we've already seen the consequences that have been reaped and sowed. So this meteorologist by the name of John Morales, he warned us weeks in advance, saying how the federal cuts to the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration and the National Weather Service could leave this country vulnerable, if not unprepared, for rapid, intense storms. For the third time, this is a catastrophic storm that experts have not seen in years in Central Texas. So essentially, we're flying blind. I say those cuts played a role into what we are experiencing right now. That F around and find out, that FAFO, this is the moment where we're finding out, right? 600 individuals left the National Weather Service. That's according to Tom Fay. He's the legislative director of the National Weather Service, okay? And he said staff is critically understaffed, but they had an adequate amount of staff, but other areas were short-staffed. So why am I tracing this back to the National Weather Service being defunded? Hundreds of meteorologists fired from the job. And right now there's a lot of finger pointing. And I'm going to be pointing the fingers at the people who caused this. I'm not saying that this flood is their fault, but this is what happens when this is the consequences of making major cuts that impact us, the people, the public. This is what's pissing me off right now, bro, because I've experienced tropical storms. I've experienced hurricanes. The most recent was Milton, and it went from a Cat 1 to a Cat 5. I've seen roads deteriorate, sand dunes destroyed. I've seen houses damaged, communities without power for days because of these storms. And the climate is changing, and there's no denying that. So with these cuts, less data is being collected. And now you have meteorologists working 2 and 3 extra jobs just to like fill in for the ones that were gone. That's my problem right now, bro. So I'm saying this could have been preventable. When America gets sick, the black community catches the flu.
Yep.
We're already seeing the symptoms. These are the symptoms right now. Before we get diagnosed the flu or whatever respiratory illness that we, the people, are going to experience, we're already experiencing the symptoms. This is one of them. Dare I say, this is what you should expect for the next 3 years under this Trump administration. I think the lesson that we can learn from this is that this is why it's essential to properly fund organizations like the National Weather Service. 600 meteorologists fired, courtesy of Doge, Trump and Elon Musk. I find that mad problematic because we're only one catastrophic flood, hurricane, tornado away from impacting communities. So this is why I'm saying when America catches a cold, the black community catches a flu, I want you to take into consideration the next time we have a severe weather event like this, how is this going to impact black communities, communities of color, and low-income communities? Because the president says he wants to wean states off of FEMA. And he recently told reporters that he's not going to comment about the future of FEMA. But we know what he's doing with FEMA money. We already know. He's using FEMA money to fund Alligator Alcatraz here in Florida. He's using FEMA money to fund Alligator Alcatraz. This is according to factcheck.org. This is a nonpartisan news source. So you can't get on my case about I'm being biased. This is nonpartisan. This is the part I'm going to read out real quick. The initial $450 million needed to create and operate the detention center in its first year was provided by the state of Florida. Wink News reported. The state of Florida, my tax dollars in Florida, paid for Alligator Alcatraz. And the state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, is going to ask the Trump administration for a reimbursement of that $450 million. Says it right here. The state will seek reimbursement through FEMA's Shelter and Services Program. Now, keep in mind, this is not the disaster relief fund after a storm passes through and then you see FEMA crews coming through to assess the damages and talk to the community members on how they can get the help that they need. This is the Shelter and Services Program. And this recovery efforts associated with major disasters and emergencies, as we've written in the Disaster Relief Fund, receives separate funding from Congress. Now, the Shelter Services Program was approved by Congress and was created in 2023 under the Biden administration to, quote, alleviate the overcrowding in short-term customs and border protection holding facilities and non-federal entities with shelter and related activities for non-citizens released from the Department of Homeland Security custody and awaiting their immigration court proceedings. A 2024 DHS report explained. But this current administration is saying that Alligator Alcatraz will be funded largely by FEMA's Shelter and Services Program, which the Biden administration used as a piggy bank to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, American taxpayer dollars, to house illegal aliens. Before, this program was used to house criminal illegal aliens. Now it's being used to detain criminal illegal aliens while they await deportation, end quote. We're in freaking hurricane season right now, and we don't have an idea how the next storm is going to smack the hell out of Florida. Milton put in the work last year. It destroyed a baseball stadium in Tampa. This is what pisses me off, bro. This pisses me off so much.
I know, I can understand why. Because they get to essentially play with people's lives to the extent that they are fully aware of these things, and it's always that hard line that you have to draw and figure out whether they are either purposely choosing to be obtuse and oblivious to everything, or are they just selling for the grift? You know, they know that whatever they are doing, they know that a lot of their investors and the reasons why they push anti-intellectual movements such as going against climate change is because they know it keeps their pockets lined with those that are willing to invest in them as long as they can maintain their efforts. So, you know, if you want to see where a man's morals lie, just look where his wallet is. So I share a lot of the sentiments you have. I think it's hard to deny certain things, like the fact that the Guadalupe River increased its water levels up to 26 feet in 45 minutes. For it to rise that fast, that is an unprecedented event. To act like that's something we've seen before, they said that this is one of the most deadliest since 1925, raising concerns about the effects of climate change on the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, but they'll deny that. And then, like you said, they're willing to defund FEMA, which I find it funny. I thought they hated defunding stuff, but, you know, we yell defund the police. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, defund FEMA. Well, you shouldn't do that. Well, why not? They're not doing anything. I have my own issues. I feel like, honestly, I hate it, and it's going to sound bad, but I don't care. We need the content. I feel like if your age group would typically die within the next 30 years, you should not be able to make any decisions about this country. Like, why is an 80-year-old deciding the future of our country?
Who's that one Keebler elf that's still in office? Republican. You know who I'm talking about.
Giblet Nick.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell.
There we go. Why? Tell me why there was a Texas I think it was a Texas Republican lawmaker, and she was found in a nursing home, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Texas congresswoman found in nursing home. Kay Granger, living in a retirement community, and she was still in office, and her constituents ain't heard from her in a minute. But she was found in a retirement home. Why? This is the type of stuff that makes me crash out. So,
I would hate it.
When people say this isn't our fight, trust me, I understand the feeling.
The sentiment is agreeable to a certain extent.
Yeah. I've had that inner turmoil where I'm like, this isn't my fight because this is what they voted for. This is what they get. But we can't afford to not pay attention. We can't afford to rest right now. We can't afford it because FEMA money is being used to fund Alligator Alcatraz. You think they're only going to go for the ones that have Latino sounding names? This man not so long ago, President Trump, said he's curious or he's looking into getting homegrowns out of the country. Let's put the map together, y'all.
Please tell me, what does homegrown mean to them? What's their definition of a homegrown that may need to go?
U.S. citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our fight, essentially. Gutting federal organizations and programs sets up a path to privatize everything. And we are looking at a prime example of what to expect. The Trump administration wants to, it's a clear path to privatize everything. This is how it starts. You gut organizations like the National Weather Service or the United States Postal Service. It gets to a point where their services aren't as good and it's pissing off people. And that's going to embolden or encourage certain lawmakers to say, well, let's go ahead and disband it and just privatize these services. There are talks to try and privatize the National Weather Service. I find that problematic, that the people should not have to pay to know what the weather is outside.
I've always wondered about that. Like, just basic stuff. Why does it come at a cost or a premium?
It's a service. It's not a handout. It's a service.
You know, they hate that handout word.
They hate that handout word. Golly. But they'll hand out tax cuts to billionaires. Why are there so many freaking billionaires under the Trump administration? Essential services are at risk, and we are seeing the proof of it as we speak. I need y'all to pay attention because this is a path to privatization. And everything cannot be privatized in this country. If we can keep something public, then we have control to keep people accountable for their actions. If you privatize something like the National Weather Service and they can do whatever they want because we don't have the same access to services that are public.
But what's a capitalistic society without privatization? It falls upon its rear end.
Privatization isn't going anywhere, but there has to be a balance or something. But this is the find out. We are finding out little by little what's happening. The Doge cuts happened months ago. And here we are, 6 months later, we're seeing the consequences of those Doge cuts. Just like how we're going to be seeing the consequences of that dumbass, big-ass, beautiful bill. It's not even beautiful. That ugly-ass bill. We're going to be seeing the consequences of it. Not in the short term, but in the long term. So when it's 2027, 2028, we're going to be experiencing the shorthand of the stick because of that bill. So we're not seeing it immediately as of now. Not yet. But give it 1, 2 more, 3 years. This is why I'm saying this is our fight. So when folks were saying this ain't our fight, this is what they voted for, or this is a time of rest.
I mean,
this is not a time of rest. It's not.
I mean, I see it from both ends because
yeah, I do. Yeah,
it's like
go on.
I guess speaking from a place of privilege, because I know I've had conversations with people within the same realm. To the extent that someone like me is going to feel, and I'm just speaking from a personal standpoint, someone like me is not going to feel the pain of this as much as the bus driver taking the kids to work, taking kids to school, as much as the janitor that you see mopping up things. Next thing you know, your granny now got to go back to work because her social programs are eliminated and now she's not getting as much money to help pay for her property taxes or her bills. Or next thing you know, Planned Parenthood is out, so now people don't have screenings that they can utilize anymore, and certain public knowledge and resources are now removed. So it's understanding that we are in a more affluent place, so we're privileged to where we honestly, I think when we did the breakdown of it economically, we're in the tax bracket. Not of course we're not pocket watching each other. We're in the tax bracket to where we will actually see more money back. It's the lower income people that's going to affect more because yes, you're getting more money back because we're not putting those money into taxes and other resources,
Mm-hmm.
but those resources are now no longer available and you don't have the money to be able to afford those resources. So that's where that trade-off comes from economically. That's what I believe that forecast will end up inevitably being, where people will see more money in their checks, but when they realize that all those public resources and other governmental benefits that we're used to are now privatized to a certain extent, because you best believe they're going to monetize it in some way and make money off of it. So they're going to find a way to price people out, and we may see that impact, but it won't affect us to the extent that it's going to affect the supporters that blindly supported this. I guess is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
is that those that blindly supported this don't understand that. And we know we graduated from middle of East Texas, where I bet there's a demographic out there that's screaming crazy for this right now. I bet they love
Rural
it.
East Texas, mind
And
you.
I haven't even checked to see if rural East Texas has any of those hospitals that are about to close down because of this. Because one of the things that they don't understand is one of the things that might go away. That rural tax credit that companies get for placing their big companies in these rural places. They don't want to work. They don't want to put their companies out there. They don't want to have to pay the extra delivery to get stuff shipped to the boonies. They want you to come to these big cities where they already have their big warehouses and all that, and they can cut back on their delivery costs. But it's because the government incentivizes them. Guess what? Inclusion, DEI. But they don't understand how they benefactors of DEI.
Because they're only looking at DEI from a racial perspective, from a racial lens.
Blacks, Mexicans, they I don't
Welfare
know.
kids, stop it. This administration is DEI. Didn't earn it.
That faux Christianity that they love to push, like, will tell you every which reason why they believe what they do and why this is wrong and why we shouldn't be going about it in a certain way, but won't turn the page over to where how God speaks on how we should be clothing the homeless, we should be feeding them, we should be feeding the hungry, we should be there for the meek. They skip all those parts and only go for the God said don't lie with men as you would a woman. He said, don't do this and that. See, you gotta, yeah, because people don't understand that, it's never, I guess, I guess it's never happened. No one's ever used Christianity as a means to persecute people. I've never seen that in history ever. What? I've never seen that happen. And I say that as a practicing Christian. I've never seen that happen.
This is the time where you apply the pressure to not just your local representatives, your state lawmakers, but your U.S. lawmakers as well who represent you. This is a time to lock in locally, wherever you are, wherever you're listening. You need to get involved. Get involved. Find out who is your. You need to find out who's your mayor, who's your city councilman or your city councilwoman, council person who represent you. You need to find out who's your county commissioner. I've had discussions with people who don't vote, and it blows my mind because they're not voting because they're trying to survive on a day-to-day basis. They already feel like they don't think their vote doesn't do anything. But that's what that's how they want you to feel. They want you to feel like your vote is meaningless. It's not going to do anything. And miss me with that, the Democratic Party hasn't done anything for black people, so if we just withhold our votes, we can make a statement. They're still going to have an election with or without our votes.
Yeah. It doesn't change much.
It does not change. This whole withhold your vote mess, cut it out.
I feel like, and I say this as someone who has people in his family and in their friend groups and all that actively say that, I feel for one, as a black person, to actively be someone that chooses not to vote is a major affront to all those that came before us that longed for the ability to have a say in this country, that longed for the ability to have their voices heard, that sacrificed so much to give us that ability. And for anyone to think that it's meaningless, don't I feel like it's been a means for people to avoid the responsibility of having to have the knowledge of what's going on around them. They just use that as an excuse to not have to engage on a mental level or on an intellectual level with their social surroundings and everything around them and how to actually make the effort towards it. And it goes back to that whole, I can't remember who wrote it. I don't know why I'm blanking. It's been a long day. Basically where he said all they gotta do is give you enough to make you realize that they haven't given you enough. Like basically dangle enough in front of you so that way you just forget about all that's going on around you. And there's a segment of people that easily works for. Hey, here's some them checks that they said Trump gave them. Here's your quarantine checks and all that, your stimulus checks. Here's that, but still people around you are dying. But don't worry about that. Here's $1,400. Or just the small things of, hey, look, it can't be that bad. We're all able to walk around. We can buy clothes. We can buy all these fancy cars. It's your fault that you're not succeeding. And it's like, no, it's so much that goes into it that it's sad to see that there's us that don't engage with the parts of life and society that our ancestors fought for. And
It's
that's
a
not even to get on
disservice.
some, it's not even to get on some Hotep stuff or anything like that, but
It's not even
literally,
Hotep at all. No.
no, because I know a lot of people be like, you gonna hop up there sound like Brother Blood. It's like, nah, like they legit died. And I think one of the biggest things that the oppressor has gotten away with is numbing us to the reality of what happened in the past and how it's affected us long term. And people would say, well, you weren't a slave. You wouldn't know anything about that. Yes, but I'm descendant of those that basically, when they started their race to progress and establish a legacy going forward, everyone was already halfway done with their race. We've been playing catch up for so long as society continues to up its pace, and everyone's like, "See, you guys are always playing the victim." It goes back to what you were saying in the last episode. Can we not forget that sometimes I think that's what they've numbed us to, that the fact that we are victims to this by constantly telling us, well, why are you still trying to act like a victim? Because y'all haven't corrected shit.
Hello. You have not taken the time out to alleviate the original sin. You have not taken the time out to do proper legislation to see that there is equality and to make sure that there is equity as well. Because you're looking at it as a handout, or you're looking at it as competition.
And I just don't understand it, because it also goes to that argument that everyone has whenever they're talking about forgiving student loans. And I find it crazy when it's people our age that get mad and talking about, well, I paid mine off. It's like, okay,
Good for
good for
you.
you. Okay. You chose to do that.
Good job. Pat on the back, gold star, and a cookie. But Wall Street, they can rake up as much money, ruin the economy, and legislators and lawmakers, they'll give them a pass. But God forbid someone who wants to pursue higher education wants their student loan debt, forgiven. God forbid. This is the time to lock in and get active. Make sure you know who you're voting for. Midterms is coming up. I think it's absurd that I have to wait till 2028 to try and vote this dude out.
And don't think that this doesn't impact us. I know a lot of young people, and I think they think I'm like fear mongering whenever I'm saying this. Removing certain programs and things of that nature is an issue for the simple fact that, like, for a first-time homeowner like me, I want to be able to own a house. But
Same
I
here.
also know if they do away with that FHA program, we've already shown that disparate impact studies revealed that lending companies will charge a higher rate based upon whether you're Black or Hispanic,
Hmm.
and that those of Caucasian descent and even Asian descent typically receive more favorable rates on average. Home Mortgage Disclosure Act collected the data collected under the HMDA has been used to analyze lending patterns. Reports have indicated that Black and Hispanic borrowers are more likely to receive higher cost loans than white borrowers, even when controlling for credit worthiness and other factors. Even the government has, even the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has uncovered instances of discriminatory lending practices where minority borrowers were charged higher rates over or received less favorable terms. So you have to think about the compounding side of issues that when they cut one resource, you have to think about how that disproportionately affects a already disproportionately affected group.
Hmm.
We are a minority that has a minority of resources to utilize. If they cut those, then that just literally they're limiting the resources that we already have as a minority here. So you just have to pay attention to the small things. And when we sit back and think like, oh, this doesn't affect us, yes, it does, just in the ways we don't think.
Yeah. It may not be knocking at your door, but it's walking towards it. Not so
Yeah.
long ago, according to the Associated Press, a federal judge granted preliminary injunction to stop the U.S. Department of Labor from shutting down Job Corps. These are people who are trying to be electricians, plumbers. These are essential services, essential jobs that our community depends on. Getting a CDL, all that stuff.
Yeah, do you know how many people we graduated with that ended up going straight into Job Corps
Yeah,
and yeah, found a trade?
trade jobs, the essential services. Or I think not so long ago, stand by on this one. Military.com. New Army shaving policy will allow soldiers with skin condition that affects mostly Black men to be kicked out. That's the headline.
Oh yeah, because oh yeah, those days
Yeah, I
where we
hated those days.
had to get a shaving profile. We were in ROTC. We were not active duty by any means.
So they don't want you to become a plumber. They don't want you to become an electrician. They don't want you in trade. They don't want you in the military.
Or if you are, they don't want you to look like you do. They don't look. They don't want us to look like we do. Oh, you gotta. We don't like the way that one looks.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always do that accent.
Let's put the pieces together. They do everything in their power to get rid of DEI, so that's less opportunities for us. They've already attacked affirmative action. They're switching names back to Confederate names in military bases and ships. They
It's
don't
only been
want you,
6 months.
it's only been 6 months. They don't want you in trade. They don't want you in the military if you got a shaving profile. But they're rounding up immigrants, undocumented immigrants, and put them in alligator Alcatraz. So who are we seeing the connection? I don't want to say it out loud, but are we seeing the connection of what they're trying to do?
I'm just saying they deported that one black gentleman because he was born on a American military base in a different country.
These people are tripping, man. These folks are tripping. This is the consequence of
I don't
vote.
want to vote in a woman. Oh,
This is what happens when you vote against your interests. This is what happens when you're a single issue voter. So the next time you cast your ballot, you think, how is this going to impact others? Not just me.
why would they have to do that? Because in their limited worldview, a lot of them don't see nothing but themselves. Yes, I'm always assuming it's them, but that could be, anyone.
That
But yeah,
we live in a hyper individualistic society nowadays.
and it does not reap the benefits that they think it is, and
It doesn't.
that's the sad part. But
So y'all better lock in, and if you haven't registered to vote immediately, find a cause, get involved, do something, get a job.
do something.
Do something, please. These niggas tripping out here, yo.
I'm not allowed to curse.
Y'all over here saying, "Oh, I'm gonna rest." My brother in Christ, why are you over here whipping and flapping them stupid ass fans? They over here fanning the flames.
I'm so tired of that song. So tired of that
Where
song.
them fans at?
I'm so tired of it now. I loved it at first, but now it's like,
Yeah.
all right, bro.
Put down.
All right, bro. Every single event. It's like, all right, bro. We got more line. I got people from Louisiana. I got homeboys and partners in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. We went to school in East Texas. I was out there for a decade. There are so many better trail ride and line songs that you can dance to, but this is the only one they know. That's why we know y'all ain't some real trail riders. Y'all ain't some real country people. Y'all just heard one fancy song on TikTok, and fell in love with it, and that's it. Y'all know nothing about it. For one, I'm honestly tired of it. Bring back the Zydeco. That's what I'd like to listen to. They don't know nothing about that though.
No, sir, they don't. Pay attention to these essential services that benefit the public. You're just now seeing the consequences of doging the National Weather Service. So what happens when they doge the U.S. Postal Service?
His best friend, his buddy Bezos is going to take over, and Amazon's going to be shipping our mail. Which, sadly, that they probably would be better, but still, sadly, it would probably be better.
But if just maybe, if lawmakers could put more money towards these services, they can be just as good.
No, because I can't line my pockets like that. I can't get richer if I'm funding these services. What y'all need resources for? I need a new yacht.
Speaking of a yacht, I live in Jacksonville, and I'm only bringing this up because he said yacht. Shad Khan is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has a super yacht. A super yacht. It's so big it could hold the Legion of Doom. That's how big the yacht is. The yacht is so big. There's a full staff inside. Bringing it back to the main topic that we were talking about initially, we're one accident, one tragedy, one incident away from relying on services like Medicaid, Medicare. We're only one paycheck away from experiencing something that we can't recover from.
The sad part.
The sad part? Go on, bro.
The sad part is we already know, and with how bad this is in the beginning, I can only surmise that this type of showing this early is going to result in, I want to say, we probably won't see another Republican president for a decade.
If people act right, if things line up the way they should, you can't trust the Republican Party after this, in my opinion. You can't trust them.
You can't.
They've shown their cards. As a matter of fact, they slammed their cards like it was a damn domino.
And put it out front.
And flipped the damn table while we were at it, too.
But
so that's why they're nervous about people like Zoran Mondami in New York.
Because you got to think about it. That's 3 generations. But let's go ahead and count this year's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 generations of conservative voters that can die off. So that's losing your voting base. So that's losing part of your voting base. Same thing with the liberal, progressive, democratic side as well. I don't think they're taking enough social account of what is happening with the youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the numbers are going to end up tilting out of their favor for the long term, because so much of the younger people are not aligning with this. Like, yeah, there's the young idiots that get brainwashed by their parents from a young age and can't even tell you why. Like, I remember that one influencer that goes to conservative spaces and interviews them. He went to A&M, and majority of them, Hispanic, white, and all of them, they
Charlie
just...
Kirk?
No, he's on the liberal side. he went there, and every time he asked them why they voted for Trump, and it just always divulged to, well, yeah, I just,
Vibes, feelings.
I just like what he does, and they can never give you policy, they can never give you all this other stuff, and
Folks
it's
are out here
just,
voting on vibes, based off vibes.
they really are, and it's
Folks really
sad.
out here voting based off of how someone makes me feel.
Which is the sad part about it, because it's like, of all there's so much that they could be contributing to this world, and they choose to just go with the most bare-brained, lacking any type of true intellect movement they could go for. And what kills me is that the youth that are conservatives, to the extent, because I think there needs to be a degree of separation between understanding that there's a difference between conservatives and there's a difference between Republicans. And then there's also a difference between MAGAs.
Absolutely. This is not the party of Condoleezza Brown rice and beans anymore.
This isn't even the race of the race the party of McCain and George H.
That ship has sailed. It's been gone.
Even if I disagreed with their politics, you can look at the Mitt Romneys of the world, the McCain when him and Obama were going at it. Mm-hmm. They still maintained a level of class and decorum between each other. We still were a very respectable country from the fact that the world could see our stuff playing out, but it was in such a respectable way. Like, I listened to BBC over there. And
BBC?
BCC?
No, it is BBC.
I always feel weird saying that way. I'm like, oh.
Isn't it weird saying BBC? Like, BBC?
I listen to them, and they just, bro, they look at us with so much disappointment. And then it's so easy for them to do it. Because James O'Brien, I love him over there. Mm-hmm. And he shuts down so many of their conservative talking points over there. Because there's Brits and all that over there there's Trump supporters across the seas, bro.
Yes.
And that is so wild to me. How are you a fan of someone?
Has shifted. The Overton window has shifted, and once again proving that they're on the wrong side of history, yet again.
And I'll send it to you later on IG. This one creator made a good point where he was just like, because this lady, they do these fanciful displays where they throw on all their MAGA stuff. They have to have U.S. flags everywhere, everything, and all that. And he made a good point. He was like, who were you before this? Before 2016, before the Red Hats, before all this extra, who were you? I bet you were a nobody with no hobbies, nothing interesting about them, just nothing. You know why? Because you allowed this to become your entire personality because you didn't have one outside of your boring existence before this came out. Because you were that person that the family had to go, hey, my aunt can say some off the wall stuff sometimes. Just don't pay them any mind. That was you before MAGA became a thing. And the fact that he has so many grifts blatantly asking for money, but trumpets himself out there as like this rich billionaire and all that. And it's just like, bro, billionaires ain't out there asking for handouts like you do. Or if they do it with their successful businesses, which you have none except for pricey golf courses. And I think if you go down the line of how many failed businesses Trump has, it gets pretty lengthy. But, he's a successful businessman.
Folks were saying, oh, I'm voting for this dude because he's a businessman. We've heard that in 2016. Did we get amnesia? Why is the president side hustling? Why is he selling NFTs? He's selling NFTs, ugly ass gold shoes, and cologne, and a phone.
Let's not. Oh wait! You haven't even touched it. Trump Magazine, Trump Mortgage Company, Trump Casinos. How many of those folded? Trump Vodka. Can't find a bottle of that anywhere. Trump Steaks. I ain't seen that. Trump University. We know what happened with that. Trump Airlines. I ain't seen a non-wig flying in the air yet.
This man has constantly asked the banks for forgiveness. constantly. And you really think someone who has been bankrupt 6 times at least? You really think that's someone that's good for the economy?
Y'all want to trust someone whose educational university venture was subject to multiple lawsuits and was ultimately shut down after being accused of misleading students.
Man, get this clown out of the office.
He's
man.
misleading those that are seeking information, yet y'all are willing to give that same person who has a history of misleading and all being a scammer, but y'all are okay with just giving him your money.
Make sense.
But we're the idiots. Well,
We're the snowflakes.
We didn't vote for Joe Biden. Well, who else are you going to vote for? An independent and waste your vote?
Here's another thing that's happening. Elon Musk wants to create a third party called the America Party. I say go for it. Go for it, because that means less votes for the Republican Party. And they need a third party, just like how people who were voting Green Party because they didn't want to vote for Kamala Harris. Yeah, go ahead and give them a third party. That's less votes for them. Go ahead. Yeah. By all means, Elon Musk, go ahead.
People don't talk about the fact that Elon overplayed his hand. And it's like, bro, who do you think was buying Teslas before you switched over to the MAGA side?
I love Tesla. Did you hear him say that at the White House? This president said, I love Tesla. Why you say it with the hard ER?
And I don't get it. They gave Biden hell about his cognitive decline or proposed cognitive decline.
And this man ain't showing nothing?
Y'all overlook everything he says because he says the racist things that I like, so I like him.
He keeps it real. He doesn't even know what's real.
He can't even tell that his wife hates him.
She don't want to be there.
He can't even tell that his wife hates him. Like, come on now. Or he knows that he just don't care because he paid for her. So he's like, shoot, you ain't going nowhere. I own you.
That man is sundowning. Okay?
That's such a disgusting view. I don't want to think about that.
That man is sundowning. Okay? He don't know what's real.
I'm not trying to picture that.
He don't know what's real. He don't know what's happening.
That is disgusting. He said that man is sundowning.
Sundowning.
Ugh. I thought sundowning was something completely different.
What did you think it meant?
Oh, wow. I thought that was something completely different. Oh,
what did you think it meant?
Oh, wow. So I thought it was the act that, these new influencers have put out. It was someone on Fox did this weird interview with the quote unquote inventors of it, where actually I don't know if they're the inventors, but basically they say that your sphincter, your anus, does not get enough sun. So they did this. So there's apparently a trend where people either do red light therapy or they just go outside when the sun's up and just sit up there with their butts in the air and just spread
it up and
tan their assholes. So I thought that's what sundowning was.
There are folks who really
think about it. Yes, think about it. That's sundowning. You're getting some sun while your bangs is down, and it could be.
Cooking bussy is crazy.
Is it really cooking it though? Is it more like treating an ant through a magnifying glass? How do you put sunscreen back there?
I don't even want to know.
Like, because that's the thing. Sunscreen isn't just like all right, I'm good. You got to rub it in there. So that means whoever...
It's still white.
So that means you in there just... Like, is that
a wet sponge?
Is that a front to back or back to front situation?
No, it's a circular sound. That's what it is.
And you gotta think about how they gotta squat over to get that in.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And then all you hear, that's what you hear while they walking around the house is, "Hey, honey."
It sounds like SpongeBob walking. Yeah.
In those boots. In those squeaky
that's
boots.
What it is. Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, people do that.
I don't. And I know you don't.
Don't nobody want to see all that.
You thought sundowning meant tanning.
Now I feel bad because I was laughing at that.
It's okay, bro.
Because didn't they make a horror movie about this?
The Centipede?
Yes, wasn't this about sundowning?
No, the centipede was about if you surgically attach someone's mouth to
Or no,
someone's
yeah, no,
booty.
that was human centipede. No,
Yes.
that's not. No, I wasn't talking about sun. I wasn't talking about the booty hole bleaching. I'm talking about the talking about sundowning. They made didn't they make a horror movie about sundowning? I'm
You want to go?
enough of a horror movie connoisseur.
Want to do a quick Google real quick on a
The Taking
sundown?
of Deborah Logan. Yes, that's what it was. This is back when me and my ex used to sit up in my apartment and just watch terrible horror movies all the time. This is a movie called The Taking of Deborah Logan, where this
Hmm.
older lady, they didn't know she was either possessed or if she had sundowning. Which I like it. It was they found an interesting way to make Alzheimer's look like a horror movie.
So moving forward, I encourage you to support the show. Rate it, write a review, and subscribe. Leave a comment and show some love. And it's helpful in getting new people to discover us. I hope you continue to enjoy this journey with us. Again, rate the show, write a review, subscribe, leave a comment, and show some love. Episode 3 is on the way. This is the Porch Light Theory. I'm Tristan. This is my brother Nick B. We out here. Peace.
Peace.